Oh, there's a fun wave in there in the centre of St Albans, so we must be on to episode 25 in the 2021-22 season of a Podful of Saints. I'm nodding here, and the fun belongs to Jacob Ellacott.
Hello, Dave. Hello, everyone. Hello, Lee.
Good evening, Lee.
Good evening, Tabs. 25, episode 25.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah,
that's a lot of waffle, mate, from us.
Well, from one of us. How is it? He looks all right. Yeah, your beard's coming along quite tidily, Lee. What do you think of that thing that Jake's carrying around with him?
So we're starting off with the unpleasantries straight off the cuff, are we? Okay, fair enough. Okay.
No, if you like it, you can say so. We don't.
I mean, Neil Metcalf threatened to set it on fire last night, so it's not the worst sort of comments I've received about it lately. So, hello, Neil.
It's very pagan, Jacob. You don't mind me saying, mate.
Thank you. I think that's a compliment, possibly.
It's going back to a pagan Christmas.
Oh, jeez.
Right, 2-3-0 wins to look at, which can't be too bad at all, can it? First one last Saturday, Hampton and Richmond Borough at Clarence Park. In Ian Allinson's first 5 games against Hampton for us, he lost a lot. Since then, 5 wins, 1 defeat in 6 against them. And you look back to the Bournemouth game last Monday and you say, did we get the rub of the green? First goal offside, second goal possibly a foul. We certainly got the rub of the green Saturday, didn't we?
It was perfect. It lacked any real quality for length of time. It lacked any cohesion. The weather was terrible. It was the perfect response. Those are the sort of games I love. 3-0 wins when we don't really earn them. But I have to say, 3 of the most well taken goals I've seen at the park this season.
3 stunners, absolute stunners. How did you see it, Jake?
Yeah, I wasn't able to be there, sadly. But watching back the highlights and getting the reports from the game, a lot of people saying didn't really deserve it. Following the game on Twitter, I was like, I can just sense that there might be an equaliser coming from Hampton. But as you say, the quality shone through in the end. And, we've said this a few times. If we want to be in that top 6, top 7, we've got to win these tough games where we probably don't deserve it, because that's what the good teams do. That's happened to us so many times over the years. We've done it to teams this season quite a few times, and I'm glad we've done it. And as you both said, the quality of the goals was absolutely unbelievable. I mean, Mitchell's was probably the worst out of all of them, but the other 2, having watched the highlights back, I can barely separate them. Just unbelievable strikes. And also, I have to say, well done to Ian. When I saw that team selection, I was a bit concerned, but he's rotated the side, and you have to say, we got a great result, and it worked.
I wouldn't mind scoring the worst ever goal like that.
They all count, though, don't they, fellas?
Beautiful goal. Beautiful.
It has. Listen, I don't know whether you were sort of talking to your minions on the terraces, but there was a few. When I went into the bar at half time, it was so surreal, because even though we were a goal up, it was almost a winter of discontent. There was a few murmurs about, we weren't performing, we weren't playing well, cup hangovers, yada, yada, yada. I thought, hang on a minute, a win is a win. And this sort of goes back to what you were saying. First and foremost, Dave, you want to see us win. If we play well, it's a distant second for you. But I just thought, I don't really know what people expect, but I think this is the bar now. This is the level that these players and this team under Ian Allinson have set themselves.
I want to see us play well. I want to see a decent game of football before we win. The win is very much secondary. Maybe the attitude, Lee, we went into the game 1 win in 5. We'd had another indifferent first half, which we've seen so often this season. It's amazing, really. The second half, we didn't really even pick it up then. So you can understand a few mumblings, but the win took us back into the playoff places. Not that it means much when you played, 14 games. It doesn't mean anything at all, really. We're not a bad position to be in, but I can understand why people thinking, well, the last few games haven't gone great.
It was an absolutely abysmal festival of football, I have to say, on Saturday. But look at what they had to deal with. The weather was absolutely coming in sideways. Hampton were trying to sort of bully us off the ball, but we weren't to be bullied. They tried every sort of tactic under the sun. But I think, and yes, Jake, what you said, 3-0 flattered us horrifically.
I wouldn't go along that Hampton bullied us. I just didn't think we played well. You may be right, maybe things I didn't see, but I thought we just had an off day and we got away. I mean, even Ian Allinson admitted the score flattered us, and he was being generous with his comment there.
Yeah, but what I'm sort of referring to is the fact that we continue to try and play football, whereas they were just happy, you know, kicking Jeffers in the air, or the sort of slight elbow, or the studs down the back of the thighs and stuff like that. You know, just tactics just to put us off of our game, because they knew that. I mean, Hampton huffed and puffed for quite a long time, and they had a few decent chances themselves, Savs.
Yeah, they should have won it. They should have won it. They had enough chances to win it comfortably before we got our second goal. That's when it
absolutely. But they're not the Hampton of old. I think, you know, that's where they sort of fell up short, was the quality of their players. And on the flip side of that, quality of our players shone through, and they became match winners in the end.
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about that. Sorry, Dave. I went on the Hampton Richmond supporter forum afterwards, I think Saturday evening or Sunday morning, and it was interesting how they talk about how it is a sense there now. They don't quite have the quality of player that will kick them into the top 6 or 7, because they're struggling to score goals. They're not quite connecting. And of course, the Saints have had that in recent weeks. We've talked about it. But the way we've responded, I think, potentially shows that difference between us and a club like Hampton that would be hopeful of a top 6, top 7 finish, but might have to aim more at that sort of middle place now. So, yeah.
Konya had a good game in goal. You could maybe question him for the first goal at Bournemouth. He maybe should have collected the ball. But apart from that, he didn't do much wrong that night. And again, last Saturday, he made a few important saves when we're only just 1 goal up or 0-0.
You can see him growing his stature. But ironically, with Michael Johnson on the way getting back to full fitness, you have to ask the question how long he's going to be in between our sticks for. But I've been impressed with him anyway. He's a domineering character. You know, he's an absolutely giant fella. But yeah, it's going to be a shame, because Michael Johnson, he comes straight back into the side for me as and when he's fit. But he didn't put a foot wrong throughout the 3 or 4 games he's played for us, really, considering that he's come into the team absolutely fresh, knows absolutely no one. So fair play to him, and he's really helped us along.
It's funny you say dominating figure, Lee, because to me, he doesn't look the size that states on his profile. His hairstyle maybe helps a bit, give him a bit more height, should we say. And Jake made a point last week. He didn't feel he was vocal enough in his 6-yard box. And when he gets that, that's going to help make him a better keeper.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think when he signed, Reading fans absolutely raved about him. And I think potentially in that first couple of games, you saw that he hasn't been able to play much first-team man's football. But now he's had the chance to. You can see him really grow. And as you say, Dave, if he can get that loudness and that voice, you know, Dean Snedker had the same issue. Superb shot stopper, probably not vocal enough. That's probably why he never has really kicked on back to the Football League like he probably should have. Hopefully, this goalkeeper, he will do that. And he's still only so young. What is he, 19, 20? That is unbelievably young for a goalkeeper, really. So, as I say, he's done really well. And it is kind of a shame that it looks like he's not really going to get a chance to play now for the Saints again.
He's still only 18.
Oh, unbelievable.
One of the other good things from Saturday was to see Michael Clark back in the game. But then when we were at Hertford last night, we saw him on crutches again, stretched his knee or something. Don't know if you got a bit more on that, Jake.
Well, I mean, from what I was hearing, it could be from anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months. So at the minute, so they're not really sure, which would be a real shame. I say he didn't look particularly comfortable, did he, last night, Dave, on those crutches either? It wasn't like it was just helping. It seemed like he couldn't put any weight down at all on that leg. So it's such a shame for Clarkey. You know, we know how much he's wanted to come back and play, and hopefully he's not out for long. And it's just another injury issue for a squad that's had quite a few lately.
So what do we do then, Lee? Do we stick Dave Deju back at right back, or do we have him bumped their way along since the end of August?
Use his proper name.
Big Dave.
Or do we go out and finally get ourselves a right back to see us through?
I'm asking the wrong fella. Quality players. That's what we need. That's not to say that Big Dave isn't a quality player. God bless him. But it's being played out of position. So there's going to be frailties in that equation somewhere along the line. I would like to see a proper right back come into it. But, you know, it's situation, Tavs. Just backtracking slightly about Jake said about being vocal. I thought the crowd was of a decent size on Saturday, considering the weather. And now we're out of the cup, so we're going to get the fair weather fans. They're going to be reclining back into their sofas. So I thought it was a decent crowd, and there's signs there that the cup games aren't just a flash in the pan in terms of the attendances, and hopefully long may that continue.
Results will be the one thing that determines that.
They always are, Tabs. They always are.
I know the club was quite concerned about the Hampton game in terms of attendances. So I say it's done well on the back of poor results and poor weather. They'll be very happy with that, and they'll be aiming for not Braintree, but hopefully the Hemel home game on 2nd of Jan. They'll be hoping for a very good crowd then, and even Oxford.
Anyone got any news on Bailey Brown? He went off injured early Saturday.
No, haven't heard anything at all. He wasn't in the squad at all. He wasn't at the ground yesterday, was he?
Nothing on the website, Dave.
But on Big Dave, interestingly, we'll get to the game, but interestingly, he was played at centre half last night and not right back. And there was one of the lads from the academy was played at right back. Be interesting if Ian's just looking at his options, potentially seeing if he can bring someone through from the academy side, give them a bit of chance off the bench. Be interesting to see what does. And also, again, speaking to Neil, second mention of the podcast, he was saying that a few of his other sides were really struggling to sign fullbacks this season as well. So be interesting how that factors in. But the Saints have got the money to be able to do it. So, and I think, going into this period, I suspect Ian will really want to strengthen if he can now, because the Saints 6 points off top, 2 games in hand. What more do you want? 5 points off top.
Yes, good point, Jake. What about 4?
Nah.
Yeah, that side he put out Saturday. You said fair play to Ian Allinson, the side he put out. Dave Deasy was dropped to the bench. Hugh Dawson was dropped to the bench. Mitchell Weiss, 16 different pronunciations on it, apparently. Also dropped to the bench. He's not afraid to make the changes, is he?
It worked.
Yeah.
I actually like the fact that Liam Sol's now making a telling contribution. We've spoken about his potential over the past few weeks. I think now, at first, his goal looked just a bit of a swinger, you know what I mean? But looking back at it, you can see that glimpses of quality coming through on the execution. And I hope now that he gets a fair run of games. I mean, not that he has featured, but I think now that should sort of build his own confidence up and hopefully provide us with a more telling attacker. And hopefully now he will add to the already growing number of quality players within the squad.
Well, I'd like to have seen him given a chance to build upon Saturday's performance at Hertford on Tuesday night against a weak side, basically an academy side. So it's a shame he wasn't. I felt a shame he wasn't given a chance just to keep going.
Yeah, it was interesting that he wasn't, but interesting that Banton was. I get the feeling that potentially Sol might be in line for a start again on Saturday, given that he didn't play on Tuesday night. I don't think he was at the ground either. He might have been. So be interested to see if he did a bit of training with a couple of the other lads ahead of Saturday. So we'll see. But again, Saturday's a really good game for him to display what he can do. Braintree, winnable game.
I spent 5 hours looking at the website today trying to get an update on Nobby. Wasn't in the game Saturday, wasn't there last night, I believe. And anything for anyone?
That would suggest to me, Tabs, that you've got far too much time on your hands, my friend. You've got 5 hours to sit there and look at the Saints website. And as for you, Jake, you're going on the Hampton and Richmond forums on a Saturday night. You'll get yourself a little bit of a life there, mate.
What else
have I not taught you anything about going out and having drunken debaucherous?
I was in Wales. What else is there to do there? I mean, come on,
Hey, that's a whole nother podcast, my friend. Let's focus back on this.
It's a good point of regards Nobby. I mean, if he wasn't at either game at all, I don't know if he was there Saturday. Did anyone see him? The thing is, at the moment, with the COVID situation, you don't know if players are now isolating, do you, and stuff like that, which I think is going to become more of an issue again in the next couple of weeks.
You jest, mate, that it's been rife. The National League today. I mean, I'm not naming clubs, but their squads have been absolutely riddled with it. I know six National League sides have all been affected by COVID over the last 24 hours. I just feel as though this is going to come back to haunt us again and again and again, and it's unfortunate. But until that time comes, we're going to talk about the football. One thing I would say, Dawson got dropped to the bench for the Hampton game, Taz, and a bit unlucky, or just maybe giving him a rest, the fact that he had a tough time against Bournemouth.
Well, possibly also because I think Ian wanted to look at those other players as well. I don't think a rest is going to be a problem for him. Maybe at 17, maybe it is, but I would have thought he's just keen to want to play. Maybe Ian doesn't want to burn him out. I don't know. But he had a full game last night, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Just rotation, whatever you want to call it. Oh, God, horrible thing that is.
Onto the trophy, fellas. Come on.
No, we still got the Herts Senior Cup from last night.
Oh, Christ.
So,
does that count still, does it?
Afraid it's the first team game. You had, about 3 debutants started, 2 more came off the bench, all young players, of course. And you're playing against an academy side, Ben Hurd's academy side at Hertford Town. The result, even with the side we put out, was a foregone conclusion. That's what it proved. Although for the first half, Jake, we weren't exactly racking up the chances, were we?
no, and any chances that we did have, we were all offside constantly.
Yes.
Honestly, which our front line just couldn't get back on side at any point. But yeah, after that, but first half, Hertford did pretty well. They caused us a few issues. Michael Johnson had to make. We should mention he came back into the side. For anyone that doesn't know, came back into the side last night on Tuesday. Did well, made some decent saves. I'd say it was a real mix to the team. You know, Bender, Dijou, Dawson, Banton, but then Sam Meeks leading the line. So, yeah, first half tough, but second half was a bit of a stroll, wasn't it? Really, Dave?
I thought Hertford were brought about their own downfall. They get the ball and they just want to pass, which you can't criticise. But it's if it goes that way, they're going that way most of the time, and they're encouraging trouble. So eventually they go a goal down. It needs a complete change of mindset to turn it around. And they didn't look to have the strength up front to do that. Certainly not against a side higher standing like us, and so they're going to have a tough rest of the season, I think.
Did you share your thoughts with Ben Hurd after the game?
No, I didn't get a chance, sadly.
He's now a centre half there, isn't he? He's sort of playing the ball out from the back in his gold boots, which is bold for Ben Hurd, but you know, there we go.
Why so, Jacob? Has he not earned that right, my friend?
Well, I don't know. I'll have to ask him next time. But yeah, you know, Hertford, they're basically academy side for Ben Hurd. Good pitch though, fair play, 4G. And most of the crowd was, well, at least half the crowd was Saints fans. So, but let's talk about the football. You know, some decent displays from some of the young lads, I'd say.
Yeah, they're comfortably in control throughout. That picture, you mentioned it, Jake, it's a plastic pitch. Hasn't got those black nodules, has it? It's got chalk instead. And it reminded me, the way it played, it was very fast. The bounce was high. It was like Luton's god awful plastic pitch of 30 years ago. So it makes it difficult for players, but you can see the benefit of it. I know I got there before you, but the car park was full up when I got there because there'd been another kids thing going on the pitch before it, which is money to Hertford Town.
Yeah, we've said this a lot, haven't we? You know, in an ideal world, you'd have a pitch like that, but do you really want to be playing football on it every week? It was difficult, and that first half, I think Ian actually mentioned in his interview, did contribute a little bit because they had to get used to how much it bounced and slid away and how quick it was. So, but there you go.
I do a little bit of work for Ben and his academy, promoting his various courses around the country, and it's very interesting to see how what he's trying to build there, Tavs. You know, if you sort of take into consideration, he's not just seeing it as the manager's job at Hertford Town. He's seeing it as a long haul all across the board, that footballing spectrum. He wants his teams to play football, and he said that he doesn't mind if you lose games by doing that. It's just that in that mentality comes second nature for his defenders to play out from the back, retain possession. He's going to struggle at that level because there's some good sides there, you know, and the academy players, you know, it's going to be a tough education for them. And it's that plastic pitch is not for everyone. And sometimes that can be your downfall as well.
If those players stay together, Lee, you're dead right. In 2-3 years' time, they will will progress a level. I don't mean get promoted. They will be a stronger side and they will do better in every match they play. And if it goes that way, excellent. But I look back to Hitchin Town, what, 5-6 years ago. They were building a young side. It was all going well. Where's it gone wrong now? It's fallen apart completely. And you hope Hertford don't go down that path.
I think in terms of Hitchin, I know this isn't a Hitchin podcast. I think the manager's been there 2 seasons too long. And then with that, things get comfortable. But Ben is a young manager. He's got his gold boots. He's got his ideas about the world, and he's going to implement them on these young minions of his own. So best of luck to him. But as again, that means, speaking of Hitchin, it means that because we won last night, we're at home to Hitchin in the next round. So
woohoo. And we should mention as well, we've talked about our front line. If Sean Jeffers gets injured, we're going to be trouble. Sam Meeks, goal, 2 assists. Not a bad return, is it? And he's not going to be an option. But again, it's good to see these lads coming through the academy and playing well when they're given the chance, even if they're not going to be really there to back up the first team quite yet. But I think that is one of the positives to come out of last night. And also George Morrell, scored a goal. Never heard of him before. He looked pretty decent as well.
He's been knocking them in for the B team, just like Sam Meeks had. So it won't do their confidence any harm at all, scoring on their first team debut. And talking of debuts, those 2 players, well, it wasn't Meeks' debut, of course. Kieran Gautier at right back, you mentioned earlier. And his brother Liam came on in goal for MJ after an hour. So they can both claim a clean sheet on that one. Don't know how that works. So you got those debutants and one other one, Ricardo. I've got it here somewhere. Where are you? Ricardo someone. I'm not going to pronounce that. So it's good. They all got a run out in a winnable match and they were comfortable. They weren't lucky about it. So good on them. Right, you mentioned the FA Trophy. Lee, should we go there next?
Why not?
The club you know well, Braintree Town.
Pub team from Essex.
Oh, no.
That's what they call themselves. That's what they call themselves, Jake. That's what they call themselves.
When we played them at in the league at Cressing Road earlier this season, they looked like a pub team. I know we did Welling 5-0 down the park, but Braintree, we played awful that day. But they looked by far the worst side we played this season. Clueless. Change of manager since then or not?
Probably.
Well, I mean, you're supposed to have your finger on the pulse of Braintree, really.
I'm just after a change of chairman, mate. I'm waiting for that. There's a phone call there to be had from me, but don't worry about that.
I mean, we talk about websites. I mean, the Braintree Town website. Goodness me, that is something to behold if anyone ever wants to visit it. The only thing I do know since that game is they signed Cale da Costa on loan from Dover. So that's he's undoubtedly going to score on Saturday if he's still there and he can play. And he's not trophy tied or whatever. But yeah, that game was it September? Was it? I mean, the only highlight for me and Lee was the free alcohol as part of the match sponsorship. I don't think there was much else of a highlight really for anyone, was there, at the game? I mean, the Saints got a win, but it was it wasn't a game. It's what Tav said.
We played appallingly and we still won, and it was easy to do so because we were just playing out around them. But Tavs, this is going back to the team that started against Hertford. Do you think there's any way that we can incorporate some of those young stars into maybe an appearance off the bench, gives them another further education in their progression?
Well, already this year has been exceptional in that 2 of them have progressed through, and it looks like they're going to hold their places down the rest of the season. Alex Lancashire and Hugh Dawson. So to get any more than that, whoa, that would be something really exceptional.
You're looking at the games, and you sort of earmarked winnable games. And now, not all games are winnable by any stretch, but you look at this one, you think it's in the trophy. Maybe we can, just give them 20 minutes or whatever, because that'd be perfect. Because they'd be absolutely buzzing from Tuesday. Why curtail that so harshly and give them another half an hour, maybe?
Well, with the injuries we've got at the moment, which is quite a few, I think that they're actually pleased the Concord match was off last night. We went to Hertford in the end. The ridiculous story behind that game. they're glad Concord was off because it served us a favour. So maybe there will be space for a couple on the bench on Saturday.
It'd be good to see.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see. And I think, I think there's one or two obvious candidates. I think that could potentially, maybe a right back, like we said, and potentially someone like Meeks or Morel. It wouldn't do them harm, would it? Especially if we're a couple of goals to the good. But then this is St Albans City. We love we love a slip up, and what's going to happen on Saturday?
Wash your mouth out.
It'll be interesting to see what the crowd is on Saturday. How many Saints come back? No season tickets, etc. And if the Saints do fully apply themselves, because it's a trophy, and it'd be so good to keep that run going, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you don't want to take your foot off a pedal, but you don't want to take Braintree lightly. But it is too easy. We know how poor they were. They've won 2 league games this season. They're 1 place off the bottom of the table. It's about a third successive season they've tried to go down, I think, isn't it? You don't fancy their chances at all. But we've still got to have the right mentality.
We do, and I think Ian and the coaches and the first team management have got to really emphasise that in the players, haven't they? For Saturday, say, you've done the job against these lot already this season. We know it wasn't difficult, but you've got to really turn up today and do a job, because otherwise you're out the trophy. That's it, done for the season.
And they've got a fantastic record against Hertfordshire sides in the trophy. They beat Potters Bar Town in the last round.
Who?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Isn't that one of Neil's clubs? One of the 15 clubs he covers?
Yeah, well.
So was he there trying to report on us last night, or was he there to report on Hertford Town?
He didn't even do a report, did he, Dave?
It's funny, actually. Before the game, somebody came up to him. I think it was a Welling guy. Neil did tell me. And the bloke was a bit surprised that Neil was actually representing St Albans for the Herts advertiser, not representing St Albans. They don't treat him too well at all. But the bloke just couldn't believe the number of clubs that Neil has to write for. And it is ludicrous.
It's a tough life, isn't it?
That's why he gets paid the big bucks.
Speaking of which, the prize money for the trophy is nowhere near, obviously, what it is from the cup, but still useful to boost the coffers.
How much can we win on Saturday? Do you know, Dave?
£23.75.
Ah, lovely.
And the FA Trophy for winning in the 3rd round. Oh, if we lose, we get 1,250. If we win, we get another 4,500 to go with the 3,750 we got in the last round.
It's not to be quibbled at, is it? It's a season where we're looking to go for promotion. We've got a lot of money in the bank, but we don't know where that money's going to go. Or the owners want to invest that in supporting the club and not really supporting the first team. If Ian wins again Saturday, it just builds his case even more to try and get some investment in that squad.
As you know, I don't do social media. I don't do the message board. A supporter's asking if a club are going to invest.
I think from what I've heard, sort of just speaking to supporters, absolutely. They know the owners are not going to be totally clear about it, because the owners don't have to. But I think when you go on a run like that in the cup and you don't necessarily see any investment in the squad, it doesn't have to be straight away, but it's been a while since that Forest Green game now. If you don't see that investment, I think fans are going to start asking questions, especially if injuries continue and if our form drops off a little over the next few weeks.
He keeps them laughing, doesn't he, Lee?
With that being, mate, I'm not really surprised.
God. But I think, we've all talked about before, there's obvious areas in the squad that need improvement, isn't there? And I think everyone can sort of see that at the minute.
Yeah. I think it is important, though, not to just spend for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Because we've seen clubs just get into a whole host of trouble by doing that.
Well, we've done it not long ago.
Well, I'm thinking more extreme sort of circumstances, your Greys and your Rushtons and your Thurrocks, etc., etc. But the players have to be there. The players have to be there. You can't just sort of, oh, he's a right back. Great, let's get him in. Right, because a half fit, out of position, Big Dave is going to be far more capable than a right back from the Dog and Duck FC or Braintree Town or wherever we're going to sign them from. So we've got to be careful. And obviously, it's up to the owners. If they're truly, truly invested in progressing the club, then you're going to have to give Ian the Arsenal to do that.
Yeah, I have no doubt that Ian and the management team have gone out and done a lot of scouting. I mean, I'm sure that is. But if the right player isn't there, do you want to sign them?
It's interesting what's happening at the top of the table in recent weeks. We needed that win Saturday to keep us in there, so thankfully we've got it and help the goal difference. There's 3 games on Saturday in the division. The main one of interest to us is Ebbsfleet at home to Bath City. Ebbsfleet win that, even by 1 goal, that'll take them to the top of the table for the first time this season. It's just changing hands every week at the moment.
It's brilliant, isn't it? It makes a change for there not to be one side running away with it or 2 sides. It's giving everyone a chance.
Yeah,
I think you've answered your own question there, Tabs. After 14 games, mate, you can't really gauge about who's on a particular run or, after Christmas, February time is when you really start to need to be looking at, because that festive period, mate, that filters out a lot of the charlatans in terms of who think they can sort of, challenge for promotion, etc., because they fall away because they haven't got the scores, they haven't got the quality.
And, sides like Dartford, Steve King, Ebbsfleet, Maidstone, I'm sure they'll spend a bit of money if they need to.
There you go. It's done and dusted then, isn't it, fellas?
Yeah, right. I believe at least one of you's got to get off fairly sharp, so we might as well just get on with the predictions. Braintree Town. If any of you go for 0-0, I'm going to give up doing this.
3-1.
3-1.
3-1.
Oh, you've stolen mine.
3-1. Okay.
I'll go 2-0 then.
2-1 to St Albans, by the way.
Okay, we appreciate that. After your last 2, Lee, we've gone for defeat, and you could have got 2 out of 2.
We've got yeah, well, won't be doing that again.
Right, that's it. Next week is our pre-Christmas one.
Go.
Jake will have a tinsel wrapped around his head instead of sticking on a dark wall.
It's not my fault my house is dark. Thank you, as always. Anything else you want to mention, Dave? Or is it, it's fairly placid from you this week. No other complaints?
Oh, there's plenty of complaints.
Oh,
I had an interesting telephone conversation this afternoon.
Oh no, what's he done?
It's going to be a 2-hour podcast now. Sorry.
Yeah, let's not get onto that.
With an owner.
Oh no, you keep that between yourselves. No, Jesus. Oh right, I suppose we should say goodbye then. If everyone wants to follow us on Twitter, give us a follow at Podful of Saints. Email us. And yeah, I suppose, is it goodbye from us then? Are we finished?
Yeah, in so many ways.
All right, we'll see you all next week. Bye bye, everyone.
No, won't we see you Saturday?
Oh yeah, see you Saturday.
Good grief.